summer afternoon in London, and England is awash with pride as its football team takes to the pitch in the knockout stages of the European Championships.
It's part of our kind of national culture and psyche.
People come together no matter what their political persuasion is to unite behind their national team.
It's a welcome distraction from the other contest taking place this week, the election.
I think with everything going on, it's pretty bleak in the country in general, cost of living and all that. So it's nice to just have something that brings everyone together.
Labour is so far ahead in the polls that pundits are now describing Sir Keir Starmer as the PM in waiting.
What do you think of the election? Keir Starmer's going to be PM? What are your thoughts?
Well, Keir Starmer will be. Whether he'll be any good is a different matter. Probably about as good as our football team.
And what do you guys think of the election? Keir Starmer, Rishi Sunak?
Oh, Joe, don't go there, darling. Could you not please go there? Because I can't even... Do you know, I'm going to go half. I can't go there, sweet.
Some say the 61-year-old Keir Starmer will be a breath of fresh air for Britain, even impressing former Tory Minister Dominic Grieve.
He's certainly going to be professional and diligent. I have no doubt about that at all, and it's a contrast, say, with Mr Johnson. The contrast is going to be quite considerable.
But Starmer, at his best, I think, can fit this country better than many people who've tried to run it in recent years.
Keir Starmer, leader of the Labour Party.
While others are less convinced.
Labour are heading more towards the Conservatives, more towards the right.
I want to see our country change for the better, and I don't think there's a strong enough offer being made.
We've been travelling the country to get a sense of the man who could soon have the keys to number 10.
He's the first Labour leader to have the word Sir prefixed to his name before he got the job, but he's also probably the most working class leader of the Labour Party for a generation.
Tom Baldwin is a former Labour Party senior advisor and has recently completed a biography on Keir Starmer, documenting his rise from humble beginnings.
He comes from a small village in Surrey, sort of place you never really heard of unless you've lived there yourself. His dad felt the sting of people looking down at him because he worked in a factory, and I think that's part of what drives Starmer now. You know, he does have a relationship with class. He's the first Labour leader in my lifetime to talk a lot about class and snobbery.
With that sort of upbringing in mind, how did that inform his decision to become a lawyer?
His parents wanted to become a lawyer. Again, it's quite a working class thing. You go to university, you're not going to study politics. What's that about, right? You study for a trade. You can make some money as a lawyer. But when he got there, he didn't know what a lawyer was. He'd never met a lawyer. He didn't know the difference between a barrister and a solicitor.
Keir Starmer spent almost 2 decades as a human rights lawyer. In 2008, he took on the high-profile position of the nation's Director of Public Prosecutions.
Good morning.
Becoming the top prosecutor was a weird thing to do if you're a lefty human rights lawyer. A lot of his friends were outraged. Like, we don't work with the police. We work against, we're against the police, we're against the state, we rail against authority. But by that stage, I think he is beginning to move.
As part of his role, he dealt directly with Britain's Conservative Attorney General, former MP Dominic Grieve.
I found him easy to deal with. I found him completely professional. I certainly never saw any political bias creep into his decision-making, and he delivered. You wouldn't have known if you'd met him that he had political ambitions at all.
His time as the nation's top prosecutor has been the subject of vicious criticism by former Prime Minister Boris Johnson.
He spent most of his time prosecuting journalists and failing to prosecute Jimmy Savile, as far as I can make out.
It's not true. The Jimmy Savile case never crossed his desk, it never came near his desk. And when he found out that Jimmy Savile was one of the most monstrous paedophiles this country's ever seen, he asked for an investigation to see how they could do it better. As a result, he said, we need to start treating victims with more respect.
Keir Starmer was knighted by then Prince Charles in 2014. Later that year, he announced he was leaving law for politics.
The frustration he's had is he thought he was going to come in, be part of a Labour government in 2015, and he spent the last 9 years in opposition. And what he says to me is, the last 9 years have been the least productive of my life.
Yeah, good.
Labour lost the last election under the leadership of self-described socialist Jeremy Corbyn. After ousting him for the leadership, Keir Starmer suspended Jeremy Corbyn for playing down a report on anti-Semitism in the party by the UK's human rights watchdog.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Thank you.
This election, he's running as an independent in the North London constituency of Islington North, and he's critical of his successor's calculated shift to the political centre.
He was elected on the basis of supporting the policies that we'd fought the last two general elections on, and then to sort of disappear from those policies is not a very good idea. I'll be delighted to see the end of the Tory government. I'll be delighted that there's been a change. If that government does good things, fine, I'll support them. But if they don't end child poverty, if they don't end the horrible debt that so many young people get into, if they don't do something about social care for older people, I'll be on their backs.
Hi, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
I've seen your face all over.
Also on Labor's backs will be the Greens, who are expecting their largest to ever vote this election, and a second MP in the House of Commons, co-leader Carla Denyer, who's running in the constituency of Bristol in the country's southwest.
I have a lot of voters saying to me on the doorstep that they are struggling to see the difference between the Conservatives and Labour these days. Yeah, do take the time to have a look at the manifestos, but briefly.
Carla Denyer says Labor's decision to walk away from a $50 billion investment in renewable energy has also disappointed progressive voters.
Voters here are telling me that they just don't feel represented by the direction that Keir Starmer has been taking the Labour Party. They will often bring up U-turns that the Labour Party's made over the last few months around their previously flagship £28 billion climate investment pledge, which was frankly one of the few good, clear policies they had left.
Imagine if a whole country said, we back your potential.
But admirers of Starmer say his pragmatism is just what the UK and the Labour Party needs.
There's only 3 Labour leaders in the history of this country who have won elections. And to win here in this environment is incredibly difficult. And step by step, he's taken the best route to get to the other side, and he's absolutely determined to get to that other side.